Born cursed, what is Maledictus? Nagini wasn't just a snake, she was once a human woman, cursed from birth with a rare magical blood condition known as Maledictus. Unlike animagi who can choose when to transform, Maledictuses are born with a blood curse that causes them to turn into animals involuntarily, and over time, the transformation becomes permanent. In Nagini's case, the animal form was a snake. This condition is always passed down through the maternal line. We don't know much about Nagini's family, but we know she inherited the curse from her mother, meaning someone before her also suffered the same fate. According to J.K. Rowling, a Maledictus is always a woman, which differentiates the condition from lycanthropy, werewolf curses, which can affect any gender. Nagini's first on-screen appearance is in Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, where she's part of the Circus Arcanus, a dark magical freak show that exploits people with rare magical conditions. Her transformation appears to be partially under control at this point, but we see her struggling. She knows that one day she'll lose her ability to return to human form entirely. This sets the stage for her tragic arc. Unlike someone like Sirius Black who could freely shift between forms, Nagini is essentially doomed to become an animal. Her fate isn't a choice, it's a slow curse. A friend of Credence, her time before Voldemort. Before Nagini ever met Voldemort, she was close to someone else society had cast aside, Credence Barebone, later revealed to be Aurelius Dumbledore. In Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, we see Nagini and Credence form a deep bond while imprisoned in the Circus Arcanus. Both are living in fear of what they're becoming, Credence with his uncontrollable Obscurus, and Nagini with her slow descent into snake form. Nagini becomes a protector and confidant to Credence. She understands his pain because she's living through her own. The film shows their connection through quiet moments, Nagini calming him down, warning him not to trust Grindelwald, and ultimately choosing to side with Dumbledore's allies over following darkness. At the end of the film, however, the two are separated. Credence joins Grindelwald, believing it's the only way to learn about his past. Nagini stays behind, and after that, she disappears from the narrative completely. She's not seen or mentioned in these secrets of Dumbledore, and no official media explains how she transitioned from being a caring human companion to becoming a deadly snake at Voldemort's side. This missing piece in the timeline opens the door for interpretation, but what's clear is this: Nagini didn't start as a villain. She was a victim of exploitation, of a cursed lineage, and of the same kind of fear and isolation that shaped many tragic characters in the wizarding world. The Lost Years, what happened between eras. After Nagini's final appearance in Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, there's a huge gap in her story. We don't see how she transforms permanently into a snake, nor how she ends up in Voldemort's service. The Secrets of Dumbledore never mentions her, and J.K. Rowling hasn't provided official canon to fill in these blanks. This has left fans speculating about what happened during these lost years. We know from Pottermore that Voldemort spent years in exile after his first defeat, hiding in Albania. It's confirmed that he encountered Nagini during this time, suggesting she had already become fully snake by then. Whether she was seeking safety in isolation or simply surviving, we don't know. The most widely accepted theory is that after Credence's defection, Nagini fled and eventually succumbed to her curse. Alone and trapped in snake form, she might have wandered Eastern Europe, ultimately crossing paths with Voldemort, a Parselmouth who could speak to her when no one else could. This meeting changed everything. Voldemort didn't just see a snake, he saw a magical creature of great power, and more importantly, a potential asset for his dark purposes. The Serpent and the Dark Lord, how she joined Voldemort. Voldemort and Nagini first met in Albania, sometime after Voldemort's body was destroyed trying to kill baby Harry. At this point, he's a fragmented soul, weak, bodiless, and clinging to life in forests, feeding off snakes and other small creatures to survive. But when he finds Nagini, something changes. She isn't just any snake. She's magical, intelligent, and likely the only being he can truly communicate with. Because Voldemort is a Parselmouth, he can speak to snakes, and and Nagini, although now permanently transformed, still carries her human intelligence. This likely allowed them to form a bond, not just of utility, but of mutual understanding. She may have even been his only companion for years. It's during this time that Voldemort becomes increasingly dependent on her, not only as a protector, but as a symbol of power and a weapon of fear. By the time we meet Voldemort again in Goblet of Fire, Nagini is fully embedded in his inner circle. She's seen accompanying him during the ritual to regain his body, one that uses the bone of his father, the flesh of a servant, and the blood of Harry Potter. It's no accident that she's present. She's not a pet, she's an ally. Later, she acts as his personal guard, assassin, and even a tool for spying, like when she disguises herself as Bathilda Bagshot in Deathly Hallows. He trusts her more than any Death Eater. Even Bellatrix doesn't get the same level of loyalty from him. This level of closeness between a Dark Lord and a magical creature is extremely rare in the wizarding world, but it's rooted in what they both are: outcasts, cursed beings, and monsters, depending on who's telling the story, turning her into a Horcrux. Nagini's transformation from companion to Horcrux is one of the darkest turns in her story. According to Pottermore and the Half-Blood Prince, Voldemort used the murder of Bertha Jorkins to create his final Horcrux, embedding a fragment of his soul inside Nagini. Bertha was a Ministry of Magic employee who disappeared while on vacation in Albania, and Voldemort extracted valuable information from her using torture and legilimency before killing her. This act wasn't random. Nagini was already deeply bonded to Voldemort. By this point, she was not just a magical serpent, but a trusted confidant and tool of terror. Making her a Horcrux elevated her role from follower to a literal extension of Voldemort himself. This is also the first and only time he used a living creature as a Horcrux, a fact that horrified Horace Slughorn when he learned of it. Using a living being as a Horcrux is incredibly unstable and dangerous. It gives that creature unnatural protection, but also puts the soul fragment at constant risk. If the creature dies, so does that piece of the soul. This is why Voldemort casts a magical protective barrier around Nagini during the Battle of Hogwarts. This decision adds another layer to Nagini's tragedy. Whether or not she had free will, at this point, she becomes more than just an ally. She becomes a prison. Voldemort doesn't just rely on her, he possesses her, and once she holds his soul, her fate is sealed. Nagini in the Harry Potter saga. Nagini's role in the Harry Potter series is terrifying and unforgettable. Her first major appearance comes in Goblet of Fire, where she slithers beside Voldemort after his resurrection. In Order of the Phoenix, she plays an even darker role, attacking Arthur Weasley in the Department of Mysteries. What's chilling is that Harry experiences the attack through her eyes, showing just how closely she's tied to Voldemort's consciousness. In Half-Blood Prince, she's mostly in the background, but her presence looms. By Deathly Hallows, she becomes central to the story's climax. She's seen eating the body of Charity Burbage after Voldemort murders the Muggle Studies professor. Later, she disguises herself using the corpse of Bathilda Bagshot to lure Harry and Hermione into a trap in Godric's Hollow. The scene is one of the most horrifying in the series. Nagini bursts out of Bathilda's dead body, nearly killing Harry. Toward the end of the saga, Nagini is Voldemort's last remaining Horcrux. He knows she must be protected at all costs. So, during the Battle of Hogwarts, he places her inside a floating magical barrier, isolating her from all danger. But Neville Longbottom, armed with the Sword of Gryffindor and fueled by Rob Bravery, kills her in a single decisive strike. Nagini's death is more than just the defeat of a monster. It's the final blow that makes Voldemort mortal again. Without her, there's no soul anchor left. She's the last line of magical protection, and when she dies, Voldemort's downfall becomes inevitable. Villain or victim. Nagini's story ends with her being decapitated, remembered mostly as a monstrous servant of Voldemort. But her full arc paints a much more complicated picture. She began as a human woman cursed with a blood-borne fate she couldn't escape. She was a Maledictus, not evil, but doomed. And her transformation wasn't a choice, it was destiny, one that robbed her of her identity, her body, and eventually her agency. The tragedy deepens when she's turned into a Horcrux. At that point, she becomes a literal vessel for Voldemort's soul, which may have overwhelmed whatever humanity she had left. Her capacity for free will is debatable, and her final years seemed like a slow magical erasure of self. So, was she a villain? Not entirely. A killer, yes, but also a victim of ancient magic, exploitation, and dark forces beyond her control. Nagini's tale reminds us Not all monsters start that way. Some are created.